Senator, I'll bring this to you. We saw the president in 2015. CS is mentioned in graft matters told to step aside. In this particular instance, knowing what you know, what we've been able to cover and hear from Parliament, the witnesses that have appeared before the Committee of Parliament at the time, do you not think the president should ask the CSS? That was a differing in utterances of two cabinet secretaries. It's something unheard of mostly when a cabinet is reading from the same script. So don't you think that's at least at the very bare minimum a place to begin?
I don't even think that we need to go that far. Do these mentioned CSs have a conscience? I'll give you my own example. Let me finish. I'll give you my own example. When I was unfairly framed that I had sold Kenyan embassies in Tokyo and elsewhere, and Parliament investigated and debated the matter, I didn't wait for President Kibaki to tell me to step aside. I went to him and told him, Mr. President, my conscience cannot allow me to sit in the office until I am cleared of any wrongdoing. And I stepped aside for 10 months.
Seeing that they haven't stepped aside.
When they don't, as we say in English, if you can't jump, you can be caused to jump. But you see what we're having, and that's why we're calling for this inquiry. The president should also not act unreasonably. There has been an investigation. You can't subject people to double jeopardy. This investigation, according to Kanini Kega, identified culprit ministers, took the matter to Parliament. We saw what happened. The flying around of allegations, envelopes, little money changing hands, and the leaders of Parliament, both the government side and the opposition, were prosecuting the case against their committees in the House. Now that we have reached there, the basis upon which the president can tell his ministers to stand up, of course the president can hire and fire without giving reasons. I am not arguing for him. But right now we are telling the president, don't act in a draconian manner. Don't act unreasonably. The new constitution enjoins every single cabinet minister to take full responsibility of every issues, decisions in his ministry. It's no longer the case of saying it was the PS. The minister must know and must take responsibility. Right. Now that these ministers have not taken responsibility, and we still have gray areas as to who did what, we are asking the president, expose them through an inquiry. Okay. Bring the facts to the fore. Yeah. Let everybody know. Let everybody who has information come forward. Let those who can sneak in through the back door with the witness protection do so, but put every information on the table.
Honorable Mudavadi, isn't it time that you as leaders from the Western region, the Sugar Belt, took a bold stand and decision and spoke to your people and said, this sugar is not working, let's diversify, let's look elsewhere, let's look at other alternatives, as opposed to being hell-bent on something that year on year we keep talking about the same story?
I think we may be underestimating what sugar means to the people of the Western region. Millions of lives are being directed very rapidly to poverty, extreme poverty. Now, as much as we want to say diversify, I think you still owe the sugarcane farmer a very serious explanation as to who is responsible for bringing misery to them.
And as you explain, what is in it for them?
Now, their lives, their children's lives.
But they continue to deteriorate.
Yes.
So how are you alleviating as you hold to account?
This is the point we want to make. And we must look at this because this is a serious public issue. And let's look at it holistically. For instance, let's go to coffee. Can you imagine when we saw the assault on the coffee farmer, what it meant to those coffee farmers, what it did to their families? We have seen an attempt to go for tea. We have seen farmers of maize being assaulted by again unscrupulous traders people who are interfering with the connivance of certain public officials. These are very serious issues that must be tackled. And so I don't
criminal culpability.
There is criminal culpability in these issues.
Yeah.
And we must take the lives of our people seriously. We should not just say, fine, this crop, everything is not working for us, to hell with it.
But my point is,
wrong.
as you seek that criminal culpability and those responsible to be held to account, in the meantime, the farmer is still suffering. For most of these farmers, they want to know, what can we do today to reduce cost of production? How do we subsidize? And those is what we are not hearing.
Those are
from you today.
issues. Those are issues that are there. We've talked about them before. But let me ask you, just look at the mathematics here. You allow duty-free, which the same parliamentary committee has established, amounted to about 32 billion Kenya shillings. Right? And you say you cannot give Mumias on Zoya 4 billion shillings or 5 billion shillings. Where is your mathematics here? Okay. If you look at the factories like the smaller ones, say Butali or West Kenya or the one in Homa Bay, it costs roughly 4 billion or 5 billion shillings to set up that factory, or even the one in Miwani. About 5 billion. So if you have allowed duty-free to the tune of 32 billion Kenya shillings, so how many factories would you have built?
All right, CS, and yet the situation continues to deteriorate. So as you seek accountability, what does the farmer in the meantime do? As they wait, as we've seen, these are long, drawn-out processes.
The farmer should not quit, as Sophia
so how do
Anuna
they
has
not
suggested.
quit?
The farmers are truly heroes of this country. Every family would want sugar on their table. They would want milk on their table. They would want coffee. They would want tea. They would want ugali on their table. They want bread. All those come from farmers, wheat farmers, maize farmers, sugarcane farmers. Now, we cannot, just because as a country today we're facing this crisis, say, okay, forget about sugarcane, go and try something else. We must look at why we are finding ourselves in this position, what ails the sugar industry, and what solutions. And these are the things we are working on.
And
as I've said,
we haven't figured it out?
No, we have, and we have overcome challenges such as this, and I believe they are not insurmountable. When we sit together as a national government, with the county governments, with our senators and leaders from the region, we are looking at solutions. And I believe already the progress we are making, and my colleague C.S. Kiunjuri would very soon be holding a meeting with all leaders from the region before we now meet the president. We are going to give solutions. But because of the crisis that we have, we must look at the tools available to us to give solutions, not just for today and tomorrow, but lasting solutions. And I believe we'll get these solutions. Yeah. But quitting is not one of the solutions.
Because, Senator, it sounds like you're all playing to the gallery, to the electorate, to the farmer, and to show them you're doing something with Let's Commission of Inquiry, but you're not telling them, how do we reduce the cost of production? How do we work on subsidies so that as we seek this criminal culpability, responsibility, accountability to be taken, in the meantime, you're not languishing.
Sophia,
we're not hearing that in this discussion.
Retrace your footsteps.
I will.
Cane farming has not been a disaster in this country. We've grown up in the sugar belt. We've seen people make wealth from cane farming. We've seen people take their children to school. We've seen families' livelihoods improve. And we've seen thousands and thousands of people employed in the sugar sector. That criminal elements came in and destroyed the industry doesn't mean that the industry is bad. Look at Nzoia, for example. We have 12,450 acres of ancestral land of our people that was taken by government. It belongs to government, and it belongs to Nzoia Sugar Company. We can't just wake up and say, abandon the sugar industry.
So what do they do
You
today?
go to Mumias, same thing.
So what do they do today?
The failure of people of integrity to run these factories doesn't mean the factories are bad. What we are saying is this inquiry will establish even the chain of incompetencies that have brought the sugar industry to where it is. I will tell you that sugar as a crop, sugarcane, is a protected crop world over. Number two, farming anywhere in the world must enjoy state subsidy. So whether you're talking of abandoning sugarcane and going to something else, the state must put in money. In fact, sugar growing for our farmers was the best and easiest process of earning a decent livelihood. The factories, when they're working properly, they plow for you, they replow for you, they harrow for you, they farrow for you, they give you seed, they give you fertilizer, they give you top dressing, and you wait to harvest. They net off their input, you remain with decent money to lead a decent life. That is not something that we can go and start telling people, move out of this. It will be responsible.
But how do you tell them to
we
make it work?
We can't throw away the baby with the bathwater.
How does it work in the meantime? Today, that farmer, beg your pardon, who's suffering and needs to figure out life now.
It will not be a single dose. It will not be an event. It's a process.
But what are
That's why we're urging the president. And remember, in Trans Nzoia, 40 top leaders of our region signed to a document urging the president to open an inquiry. We can't all be foolish. We can't all be wrong. We can't all be misguided. We can't all be saying things that don't matter to our people. People want things to be done in the manner their leaders are telling them.
All right. We'll leave that to rest there. I want us to move on to the unity question.
Move on to the,
you have a burning point?
You see, yes. To deal with agriculture, it's a set of issues, a set of good policies, a set of the subsidies and so forth.
Yes.
It is not a process like brewing instant coffee. All right? We have to bear this in mind. Cane, for instance, you would need, for good cane, about 18 months to mature. All right? So naturally, the sugarcane farmers in that area have also been doing other things. Okay? But what is important is the array of issues which we would have to look at. Even Trump now is busy altering issues around trade. Okay? We entered into aspects like COMESA. There are certain issues around COMESA that we will have to look at afresh as a nation. Because in trade, if you are constantly at a disadvantage, because there are certain countries that have certain issues and they're flooding their sugar here and getting away with it under the guise of COMESA, we must also look at these issues critically and say, what do we want to do? To continue subsidizing and enriching a farmer in another country and not taking care of our own farmers? These are fundamental issues that we have to look at.